There has been a lot of talk about Germany turning more and more towards nuclear power. The reason for this is because Russia invaded Ukraine, as all of you already know. And so a lot of people are pissed off about this, and they don't want countries to continuously purchase Russian energy, Russian natural gas, upon which Germany is heavily reliant. And so there has been a substantial amount of discourse about Western countries going towards nuclear power, pursuing nuclear power. But there has been very, very little talk about Germany becoming more and more interested in nuclear proliferation and becoming a nuclear power. There's been very little talk about this. Back in June, and this really did not get a lot of attention, but back in June, the chief officer, the head of the German Air Force, I think it's called the Luftwaffe, Ingo Gerhards, said, according to the German newspaper Bild, for credible deterrence, we need both the means and the political will to implement nuclear deterrence if necessary. And according to the newspaper, the chief officer of the German Luftwaffe, the German Air Force, Ingo Gerhards, stated, Putin, don't mess with us. By 2030, Europeans will have 600 modern fighter jets in the Baltic Sea region. Then they are the Americans' planes, etc. So the Germans have been talking seriously about becoming a nuclear power. And this is something that people within the US government have known about for years. In fact, there is a document from Congress going all the way back to 2008 that states that if Germany and Japan ever get the perception that they can no longer rely on American security, they will pursue nuclear proliferation. And here's the quote right here. This is from 2008 from a document from U.S. Congress entitled Chain Reaction, Avoiding a Nuclear Arms Race in the Middle East. And it says, quote, in the cases of Germany and Japan, both countries can easily obtain nuclear weapons but have chosen not to because of their integration beneath a NATO, Germany, or an American, Japan security umbrella. Today, all of these countries have the technical capacity to obtain nuclear weapons in a matter of months or a few short years. If these countries ever begin to question the reliability of this security umbrella, they would almost certainly reassess past nuclear weapons decisions. So there you go. So even the U.S. government knows that if Germany and Japan ever get the impression, the perception, that they can no longer be dependent on American security, they will pursue nuclear proliferation. They will pursue obtaining or producing nuclear weapons. And so there's been all this talk about Germany and Japan going into nuclear power because, they don't want to support Russia. But the reality is that you can use nuclear energy to produce nuclear weapons. And this is what we are heading towards. We are heading towards a Germany and a Japan that are more militarily independent, and they want to become regional superpowers. Germany wants to become the most powerful country in Europe. Not just the most powerful economy, but the most powerful country militarily in Europe. And the same thing goes for Japan. They want to become the most powerful nation in Asia. So a lot of people will say, oh, this is just nonsense, or this is hyperbole, or this is an exaggeration, or this is BS, or whatever. But I just don't really understand how people can look at what I'm saying and think that this is crazy, that what I'm saying is crazy, because, look at the past. I understand, right? There's no German official today that's slamming his fist on a pulpit screaming about going to war with America or nuking Israel, although Germany is Iran's closest Western ally. And there's nobody in the Japanese government who is, screaming for war. All right, not explicitly, but look at the past. Look at the past. The fact that these two countries were aggressors, the fact that these two countries were invaders, that they were butchers, that they butchered millions of people, tens of millions of people. I just don't see how we can become optimistic about the world that we are heading towards. Anyway, you guys just heard some theology. God bless.